Hi, today we're going to do Poetry Lesson 7. Today we're going to plan our second poem, which is going to be an animal poem. Here's an example of an animal poem. I'm going to read it to you. Chicken, busy, fluffy, quick, as white as snow. It says, clickety-cluck brock. It scratches in the barnyard. Scritch, scratch. So in this poem, we're going to take a look at the different parts it has. So on the first line, we have the animal's name. Then on the second line, there are 3 words to describe it. So we have 3 adjectives, which is a lot like the mystery creature poem we just wrote. On the third line, you should notice that it is a simile. So we have as white as snow. So they're describing the whiteness of the chicken. They're comparing it to the snow. And then lines 4 and 5 are the noises or sounds that the animal makes, which are onomatopoeia words. Then, line 6 is a verb, which is an action that the animal does. So it scratches. Then line 7 tells us where the animal lives. In the barnyard. And then, line 8, we have 2 more noise words, or onomatopoeia. So now that we've taken a look at an example animal poem, we're going to plan our own. So you need this plan page in front of you, and we're going to plan an animal poem. So you want to think about an animal that you might want to write about. I think I'm going to choose a crane because in our last Super magazine, we read about cranes. So I'm going to write crane on where it says animal name. And now I'm going to think of some words or adjectives to describe my crane. I need to think of 3. So I think cranes are very beautiful. So I'm going to write beautiful. And I can also think about their color. So cranes are white. And when I think about cranes, they do a lot of flying. So I'm going to write strong because they seem like a very strong bird. Next, after I'm done with my 3 adjectives, I'm going to write a simile. So for my simile, you can use like or as. And I think I'm going to use like. And cranes are very majestic. They're very proud. So I'm thinking of something to compare that to. And I kind of think of royalty as very, very proud and majestic. So I'm going to say majestic like a queen. So I'm going to compare the cranes to a queen. Now for line 4 and 5, I have to think of what my animal says. Well, I remember from the article that it says that a crane makes a whoop sound. So that's what I'm going to use. So here it says, and I'm going to write the word whoop because that's what a crane sounds like. And then 6 and 7 is an action that it does and where it lives. So first I need to think of an action. So what does the crane do? Well, before I was thinking about how it was flying, and that's why I wrote that it was strong. So I think, though, instead of using the word flying, to use the word soars. So I'm going to write it soars. And then I have to think about one place it lives is in the sky, and that's where it would be soaring. So I'm going to write it soars through the sky. And then last, sounds you hear where it lives or sounds it makes when it moves. So when I think of it moving and soaring and flying, I'm going to think of words that sound like flying and birds' wings. So maybe I would use the word flap. And usually when you're kind of going through the air, you might make a swooshing noise. So I'm going to say swoosh. So now my plan is complete. I've got my animal name, my 3 adjectives, a simile that describes it, word that my animal says, and then an action and where it lives, soars through the sky. Then last, 2 more words or noises that the animal makes. You are going to create your plan now. Before you start, here are some animals you might want to consider, or these might just give you some ideas of what you might be able to write about. So here I have a lion who lives in the jungle, fish that lives in a lake or ocean, frog which would live in a pond, a bird which would live in a tree or sky, chicken which lives in a coop or a barnyard, a horse which lives in a barn, deer which live in the woods, rabbit which would live in the field or the woods. So these are just some ideas. You can, of course, come up with your own animal and think about where your animal lives. After you have chosen your animal, you are ready to do your plan. So, using your animal, you're going to complete your plan for your poem. When you're done with your plan, you're ready to move on to the next step.